Dear viewers, welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to explain some important functions available under the data validation. First, let us see what data validation is. When you allow the end user to key in some information in Excel, at that time you can impose some restrictions, you can impose some conditions, and whatever data entered by the end user, if it passes the condition what you have given, then Excel will accept the data. And if the data doesn't pass the condition you have imposed, then Excel is going to reject the data. Let's see more about this. Look at the example I have here. This is a application form wherein the end user will enter the name, his name, his father's name, his date of birth, age, and qualification. Now, for an example, let me put this here. If you are asking the end users to enter the qualification, people might type in different ways. Example, if the person has completed BSc Maths, one person might type like this, BSc Maths, and other person might type B, BSc Maths like this without the full stop, and other person might type BSc Math, and some people might type simply Maths. So there are multiple ways of entering data, and if you allow this column openly, and if people uh, key in the data as per their wish, then it becomes a nightmare for you when you collate the data from multiple users and if you want to do any analysis. Because when you try to summarize the data, uh, this BSc Max is not equivalent to this, and this is not equivalent to this. So you have four different varieties of portraying the same data, and data scrubbing becomes one of the major tasks for you when you collate this kind of data. So in order to reduce your work uh, in the future, what you can do is, while designing the form, you can impose all the conditions so that the end data that you receive is in a proper format, and it helps you to quickly summarize and come to a meaningful conclusion. Now let's see how to apply these data validation techniques. Uh, Let me go to the first example, name. We know that name generally contains only alphabets. If you want to impose a rule here, you can say no numbers should be allowed inside this cell. So what you can do, the data validation techniques are available under the data tab, data tools group, and here you have the data validation. So click on this drop down and select data validation, and uh, in the settings, the validation criteria allow. Here you have a drop down. There are multiple options available here. So you need to pick and choose which option you have to use to impose your condition. Now, since I'm going to check whether the entered value is a text, I will select the custom option, and when you select the custom option, it allows you to key in a formula here. So I will type a formula of is text, open bracket. I will select this cell and I will close the bracket. I will say okay. So now I have imposed a condition here saying whatever the end user types on this cell, it should be a text. So if I type my name here, this will accept. If I type some numbers, now you can see Excel does not accept what was keyed in, and it says the value doesn't match the data validation restriction defined for this cell. So I have defined a condition saying this should be in text, and that's what it says here. For an end user, sometimes this message may not be meaningful. He may not be aware what data validation is. So in that case, you can define a proper error message. How we can do that is go back to data validation, and just next to settings, there are two other choices available. One is input message. Here we are not taking any input from okay, this might be a quick text available to the end user. Let me explain how to use this title. You can give a title here and the input message. So whenever the cursor is taken on top of this cell, there will be an input message to the end user. He can read the message and then he can key in the data. You must type your name and not any numbers. Now you can see this is appearing just like a comment. If I click outside the cell, it does not appear. Whereas when I click inside the cell, a small quick text is appearing here. And this will be very helpful to the end user because he can read it and he can key in the correct data. Now, we have to ensure the data gets rejected. This is only a additional help to the end user. This doesn't, this is not the error reply given by Excel. This is instead before typing the data, this will only help the end user. Now, go back to data validation dialog box, and here you have something called error alert. So in the error alert, you have three types of error messages. One is information. When you select information, it only gives uh, uh, the message you want to give to the end user, but it will accept what he has entered. Same is applicable for warning. Warning is just a error message. It doesn't reject the data. And stop. So stop is the actual error message I want to use here because it will give a proper message to the end user and it is going to reject the data what he has entered. Okay, now I have defined my own message in the error dialog box. Let me type some numbers here. And here you can see all the predefined text got changed to my message, what I have given. Probably this can be more meaningful to the end user. He can easily read it and then he can decide what he want to do. You can see even the buttons. This does not say okay. This is saying retry. So you have to retry and you have to remove what you have keyed in just now. If it says okay, then it is accepting what you have entered. Whereas in this case, that is not going to happen. So I will type a name here. So this is one way of applying the condition. Let us see the other ways we can imply more conditions. Now let me go to the father's name. Suppose I want to restrict the end user to key in only a fixed number of characters, say 20 characters or 30 characters. I can go back to data validation, and here under the allow, we have text length. So you can select this choice. Again, there are multiple ways you can define your criteria. I want to uh, allow anything less than, I can select this, anything less than 20 characters. And if it goes beyond 20, then Excel will not accept it. Let me show that example. So this is less than 20 characters, so it accepted. If I extend it more, so when it goes beyond 20 characters, Excel is not going to accept it, and then we have to retry and key in the data that matches the the given criteria. The disadvantage here is you cannot impose multiple criteria on one single cell using this method. In Excel, to perform one task, there are multiple ways to do. This is only one way I'm explaining this in this video. Uh, so as per this method, you can apply only one condition on a given cell. I'm moving to the next choice here, date of birth. And here I want to ensure people does not key in a very old date. For example, a living person might not have a date of birth which is 200 years back, right? So I have to give a condition and I should allow maximum 100 years. So what I can do is I can select the date, and date should be less than 9/30/2022. Okay, now let us change the condition here. I will make it as greater than, and I'm going to say it should be, the date of birth should be within 100 years from today. So it can be 1922. So any date from starting from 30th September 1922 till today, that will be accepted. Now I can change the date 9/30/2000. So that is being accepted by Excel here. And if I change the date to 1822, it doesn't accept. So any date starting from 9/30/1922, it will accept the next date. So it is going to be 10/1/1922. So this is accepted, and any date after this will be accepted by Excel. Now coming to the next criteria, in age, I want the end user to enter only whole numbers, and it can be, it should be less than or equal to 100, and I don't want any decimals to be entered. So once again, I'm going to the data validation option, and here I'm selecting whole number, and here I will say it is less than 100. Less than or equal to. If you want to include 100 to be allowed, then you can say less than or equal to. And now age can be entered. And if it goes beyond 100, then it is not accepted. And in the last option, qualification, you can you can define certain choices, and the end user can select only between the choices what you have defined for the cell. And how you can prepare the list is uh, go to allow and select list. So list is the choice you need to use. If you already have the list that you want to appear here in a different range, you can simply select the range of cells. You can also key in directly the choices you want to give to the end user directly in the cell. Let me do that. I will call it as BA English and then BSc Max, BCom, MBA, MCA, and so on. So you can separate each choice with a comma, and you can enter any number of items you want to get loaded in this list. Now, after I applied that condition, you can see there is a drop down appearing just next to the cell. The end user does not have a choice to type on this cell. He can only select what is given in the list. So if I type anything else here, Excel does not accept it. You have restricted the end user to select only between the available choices. So these are some ways to apply the data validation rules. So it is up to your creativity and your need. Depending upon what you have in your hand, you have to pick and choose the right data validation rule, and you need to apply for your need. If you like this video, please click on the like button and do share it with your friends. We can learn more features in the coming videos. Thank you all.